Hey everybody, as some of you know, over the last year I've been running a nearly 24/7 stream from my all-sky camera. Over that time I've made various improvements to the setup, which I posted as an upgrade video a while back. A few weeks ago I finished my second version. I'll spare you the actual building aspect of it in lieu of sending you to my first video, as it's mostly the same. Obviously, when I first built my Skycam, I didn't fully know what to expect, so this time I incorporated what I learned over the last year. My old Skycam worked really well, but it did have a couple problems. First of all, it wasn't ventilated. It was completely watertight, and as a result, everything inside the housing absolutely cooked over the summer. I think the highest temperature I saw inside there was around 160 Fahrenheit, which is 71 Celsius. It also doesn't help that the enclosure is sitting on my roof, so it gets pretty hot during the day. This caused the lubricant in the focus ring of the lens to leak, and a thin film of oil seemed to cover almost everything inside the dome. I'm not 100% sure what part it came from, but it ruined the inside of the dome, and it just destroyed the quality of the image. The second problem I had was being able to easily replace the dome. I had a dew heater wire attached to the inside of the dome itself, meaning I had to reattach it to the new dome when I swapped them out. I probably only had to replace it once, but when I first did the replacement and I attached the new dome, I accidentally let it hit my roof shingles, which caused a huge scratch right in the top of the dome, so I had to replace it again. The third problem was easily accessing all the components. The last enclosure had the camera attached to the lid, meaning if I needed to adjust focus or do anything on the inside of the dome, I had to remove the camera, do what I needed, and then painstakingly realign it to maintain the same shot. Finally, the enclosure was just kind of small. It worked fine, but I had to be pretty specific with where each wire sat so I could close the lid properly. Like I said, when it was all working, it worked great, but I did come up with a couple solutions to some of these issues. This time I got a slightly bigger enclosure, both to make it a little easier to fit everything inside and allow for better airflow around all the electronics. I drilled several 1-inch holes in the case to allow for airflow. These are protected by several vents with a mesh screen to keep most of the bugs out. I also attached a 90-degree PVC fitting to the inflow to help keep rain out of the intake. The exhaust vents are on the opposite side, drilled in the bottom of the case to also help keep the rain out. I had pieces of PVC attached to those too, but I thought I'd have slightly more clearance from the bracket that holds the actual enclosure that's sitting on my roof. And I thought I'd have more clearance, but I didn't make them short enough. I tried using heat to just bend them, but that didn't work. Inside the case is a large fan that pulls air in through the intake and across the camera and its heat sinks. There's also a fan that blows air across the opening of the dome to help cycle cooler air up into the hottest part of the enclosure. To combat dew, I 3D printed a ring out of PETG with a slot in it to help hold the dew heater wire, and that's attached directly to the enclosure, and the dome fits right on top of it. I still seal it with silicone to prevent water leaks, but all I have to do is cut it off with a razor. The camera is also now mounted to the inside of the enclosure rather than the lid. It sits on a guide scope pedestal, so I can actually remove it entirely just with a single thumb screw. This will allow me to focus the camera or do anything else I need without having to partially disassemble everything. All I have to do is open the lid. The camera is also attached to a piece of copper with 2 heat sinks. I only had one fan that would fit, so I put it on one of the heat sinks to help dispel more heat. When I wrote this script, it was 56 degrees out with the camera temperature being 85. The sun is going to heat the camera up quite a bit no matter what I do. It's also a completely clear sky today, but at night it's much closer to ambient. Other than that, the rest of the setup is the same. I run power and data cables to the inside of the dome through the attic to a mini PC that I keep in our laundry room, though to control things I usually just remote desktop in. Some people also use a Raspberry Pi or some other kind of mini PC on the inside of the enclosure and only need to supply power. Personally, I want to keep it as simple as possible and keep as many electronics out of the elements as I can. Hopefully this video helps guide you when you're building your own all-sky camera. Thank you for watching, and if this helped you at all, I'd appreciate it if you threw me a thumbs up. Thank you.